Trinity format is an alternative Yu-Gi-Oh format with rules that improve format diversity, game interactivity, and deck-building creativity. In games of Trinity, each player can summon up to 3 effect monsters on any turn, which creates longer and more resource-focused games. Players can also build a deck of at least 30 cards, but they can only play 1 copy of each card, which reduces the amount of hyper-consistent strategies and encourages players to think outside the box. However, for every 5 cards they play above 30, they get a point, which they can spend on another copy of a card already in their deck, a 1-point card, or 2 half-point cards. Now let's take a look at Superheavy Samurai. Superheavy Samurai is known for being a crazy combo deck in TCG, being able to fit 20 hand traps and lock the opponent out of the game completely with 1-card combos, at least before Scarecrow was banned. But in Trinity format, the deck plays differently due to the summon limit and deck building restrictions. This Superheavy Samurai build aims to make a synchro every turn and supplements that game plan with tons of good generic monsters and hand traps. Now let's do the card by card. We have 3 copies of Superheavy Samurai Prodigy Wakuishi, which has a pendulum effect. If you have no spells or traps in your graveyard, you can place a Superheavy Samurai pendulum monster from your deck, except for itself in your other pendulum zone, then special summon it. And then its monster effect is, if you have no spells or traps in your graveyard, you can discard a monster to special summon a Superheavy Samurai from your hand or deck in defense, but you can't special summon for the rest of the turn, except Superheavy Samurais. And then if it's used as synchro material, you can put it in your pendulum zone. We're playing 3 copies of Superheavy Samurai Bike, which can increase its level by 2 if it's on the field, or you can discard it to add a Superheavy Samurai from your deck to your hand. We have Superheavy Samurai Wagon, which can change its battle position to add a Superheavy Samurai Soul monster. We have Superheavy Samurai Battle Ball, which synchros with an opponent's monster, and that's really helpful for removal, especially since you can summon it off Waka. We're playing Flutist, which you contribute it to summon a Superheavy Samurai from the hand, and you can banish it from your graveyard to negate a targeting effect. This is a good discard off Waka because it'll be in the graveyard before they can use something like Impermanence or Effect Failure on the Waka. You have Gigagloves, which if it's sent to the graveyard, you can look at the top 5 and then put them back in any order. And if an opponent's monster attacks, you can banish it and activate the top card. And if it's Superheavy Samurai, you get to add it and make the attacking monster 0. So this is good discard fodder for the Waka. We have Scales, which reborns the Superheavy Samurai if it's normal or special summon. And then if your opponent controls 2 or more monsters and you don't have any, then you can special summon it. We have Superheavy Samurai Security, the new card from Jewel's Nexus. If it's normal or special summon, you can add a face-up Machine Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. So it's good for recycling your Machine Pendulums like Waka. And also you can tribute it to summon the Earth Machine with 1500 or less attack from your hand or graveyard. We have Superheavy Samurai Big Benkei. This is just a really big body that you can summon off Waka in one summon. So if you get interrupted on your first summon and then you end up having to summon another Waka and you can't make a synchro, you can just summon this and then swing for 35. We have Superheavy Samurai Monk Warrior Big Benkei. This is the main target for Waka's effect to place a Machine Pendulum from the deck. It'll add a Superheavy Samurai Soul monster if you control Superheavy Samurai, which is really good for the grind game and just having a ton of stuff to equip to your stuff. We have Superheavy Samurai General Coral. This is a second target for Waka in case you draw the Big Benkei. It's also pretty good for OTK since it lets a Superheavy Samurai attack twice. We're also playing a ton of Superheavy Samurai Soul monsters. These all have an effect where if they're in the hand or field, you can equip it to a Superheavy Samurai you control, and then give that Superheavy Samurai a special effect. Soul Bank Cannon boosts by 1000, and then it also has an extra effect. During either player's battle phase, if your opponent uses an effect, you can banish it from your graveyard to destroy all monsters on the field, negate the effect, and then burn each player for 1000. Superheavy Samurai Soulbuster Gauntlet equips and then boosts by 400 defense, or you can discard it to double a Superheavy Samurai monster's defense until the end of the turn, which makes it really good for swinging over massive monsters. Superheavy Samurai Soulclaw, if it's equipped, it boosts by 500 attack and defense, and then makes that monster unable to be destroyed by battle, or you can special summon it while it's equipped. Superheavy Samurai Soulfire Suit makes the level of this equipped monster 5, or you can discard it to sink a Superheavy Samurai by 800 defense, but it can't be destroyed for the rest of the turn. Soul Horns, while it's equipped, gives the Superheavy Samurai the ability to attack twice. Orcust must summon it while it's equipped. Superheavy Samurai Soul Peacemaker makes the Superheavy Samurai it's equipped to the only monster your opponent can attack, but you can also tribute the monster to summon a Superheavy Samurai from deck. So if you draw something like Soul Peacemaker and Flutist, you can go Soul Peacemaker, equip to Flutist, tribute Flutist, and then summon a Superheavy Samurai instead of having the useless Flutist. There's Soul Piercer. This is the main search off all your Soul Searchers, because if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a Superheavy Samurai. And it also has an effect where if it's equipped, it gives Piercing, which can come up. We're also playing a small Orcust engine. We have Armageddon Knight, Mathematician, 2 copies of Gearsu, Hardcore, and Crescendo. Crescendo can search Waka, which is really useful. We have just a generic searcher, Al-Sathir Channeler, which is the main reason we're playing so many Superheavy Samurais, because you can discard this and a Superheavy Samurai to add a copy of Bike, which can then add Waka. We're playing Mathmex Circular and Mathmex Sigma just as generic extenders. Circular, if your Waka gets negated, you can just summon it and then make a Synchro 8, and Sigma is the same thing, but it also has an extra effect where if you use it as synchro material, you can treat it as a non-tuner, so you can synchro this and Waka, even though they're both tuners, into a copy of Geomathek Magma. We're playing Revolution Synchron just because it's a good synchro extender, 3 copies of Balbaboon because it's a good normal summon and helps you find your engine. Sangan and Witch are just normal summons in case your Waka gets interrupted. We have Goki Pole, which is good discard off Waka, as well as a normal summon. And we're playing the search targets Mimicking Maneater Bug, Retaliating Sea, and Big Insect. We're also playing Draw Hand, which is part of the turn 1 combo. And we're playing some stuff that helps Waka go through. Soravis, Eccentric, Garuda, and the Master Cerberus to search Garuda. These 2 are just MSTs. We're also playing a pretty comprehensive hand trap lineup since we have no way to interact with the opponent other than our monsters. We're playing Ash Blossom, Effect Veiler, Ghost Mourner, Ghost Ogre, Max C, which is searchable off Retaliating C by the way, Calm Grade, and side frame gear Delta, Gamma, and Driver. In our extra deck, we're playing a ton of Superheavy Samurai Synchros. We have Brave Masterao. This card is pretty crazy. If you equip the Soul Hordes, it's just 8,000 damage, which is really helpful for having lethal on empty board. Sarutobi is really good in Trinity because our tournaments are open deck lists, so you can tell if the opponent's on a field spell reliant or back row deck, and then you can just make this to absolutely break their kneecaps. We have General Susanowo, which is actually pretty good, even though no one plays it in TCG. It'll summon back your Soul Piercer to keep giving you searches. Ogre Shindoji is pretty insane. We're playing Superheavy Samurai Soul Claw so it can make it easier, and it's just Harpy's Feather Duster when you summon it, which again breaks the kneecaps of back row decks. We have Stealth Ninja, which is just another Superheavy Samurai name for Flutist and Gigagloves, which can make it if you summon them off Waka. It's also another target for Battle Ball, since Battle Ball can use a level 5 to make this. We're playing Swordsmaster Musashi. This rarely comes up, but it's just, again, another name, because you need a ton of names, so you can make use of the Waka summon from deck. Warlord Susanowo. We're not playing a level 6 Superheavy Samurai, so we can't make this with the Waka, but we do need to play this because Battle Ball needs a target to go into if your opponent has level 8. We have Shooting Riser Dragon, we have Black Rose Dragon, we have Quibelt, we have Geomathek Magma and Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, which are just good generic gates. Elsa, Dark, and Scarecrow. In our side deck, we have a lot of hand traps: Lancia, Baldrake, Serenir, Crow, Phantasme, Flying Sea, Ghost Spell, Skullmeister, Sneaky Sea, Crimson Blader, Beast QB as the target for Battle Ball if the opponent has a level 7. Balram, this is the out to perform Pal 5 Rainbow Magician, since you can just crash it and wipe the opponent's board, so you probably won't get OTK'd either. Dawn Dragster, Rocks, and Breakthrough Skill. This deck has strong one-card combos, tons of extenders and searchers, a great synchro toolbox to play into any scenario you might find yourself into, and a resilient endboard. However, it does have some consistency issues with finding Waka, and if it gets negated in the right spots, then your combo can fall apart.
So overall, it's a pretty simple deck to play, but it has some pretty clear weaknesses.